Okay, let other people come join. But I have given tutorial 5 problems, a set of problems in tutorial 5. Have you tried or any difficulty did you face?
So last question, I cannot understand the diagram of the last question. What is,
Last question, what it is?
sir, the capacitor, triangular shaped capacitors
Ah,
and sliding.
so basically it is like this. As if a rectangular plate, I have cut it into two halves and separate and placed side by side, very close to it, and over which another plate
Sir,
is there.
so am I audible?
Yeah.
The screen is not visible actually, the entire board.
Oh, this side is not visible. I don't know
No.
what is happening. They have shifted the camera possibly. The camera got shifted. Okay. This is visible. So a
Uh,
rectangular plate, I have cut it diagonally and placed them almost very close, negligible gap.
Sir, have you written something on the left side of the board? Can't see that.
This one.
Uh, no, sir. Further to the left, there is a box above.
This was there, this I have rubbed off.
Oh, acha, acha. No, like,
Oh, this is class test at
okay,
uh,
okay.
fifth, no, fifth year. Okay, I'll just put it in this. Okay. So this was a rectangular plate and over which I have placed another rectangular plate. Of course, something like this, a jockey type of thing, some sort of jockey with which I can slide over this one, but there is always some gap is maintained between the fixed plate as well as the moving plate. So what you can say is that the the dimensions are given, so there would be some area of overlap between the fixed plate A and the moving plate M, and there would be also some area of overlap between the fixed plate B and the moving plate N. So I can calculate what is the value of C1 and what is the value of C2. And interestingly, so if I move it towards this end, so the area of overlap between M and E decreases. So C1 will go down, it will increase because area of overlap will increase. So C1 will go up, but this will come down and C2 will go down. So it's something like an parallel plate, it's a linear capacitance variation. So here it was. So when the moving plate is the middle, so naturally you know that these dimensions are there. So naturally C1 has to be equal to C2. And that is the thing, simply employing the trapezoidal area, and you can find out this one there. And find the values of C1 and C2, and if it is moved by a amount of dx, so what is the amount change in area, and accordingly what is the value of C1 and C2, you have to change it, find out. And second thing is that thirdly, a suitable scheme for converting displacement signal into a voltage signal. which we have already seen many signal conditioning circuit. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Huh? So
Yes,
this
sir.
So this problem is nothing. Simply you need to understand that there are two fixed plates placed over here, and the moving plate is can slide over that fixed plate, keeping a gap of d or sorry t. I think we call it, giving a gap of t between them. It's a perfect parallel plate capacitor. Okay. Any other question on tutorial 5 problems? If it is not, I don't know whether.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in second question, we will consider like the gap length, twice of gap length while calculating the reluctance of air, right?
Huh. So
Yes,
same
sir.
thing we have done it. Actually, this problem is taken from Bentley. Huh. You can see it, Bentley, and they have given the answer also, I think. Huh.
Sir, actually, like when you were teaching us in the class, you took only G, so that's why I got confused.
Actually, the point is that it was something the code is still rod of relative. Basically, it is something like I had shown you a rectangular type, but in this case, it is a semicircular type here, and there is an armature, what we call it. So basically, this is a semicircular, and this is some sort of armature, which is a rectangular cross section there. So naturally, the reluctance path here it's uniform. We can know that it is there. But for this case, what they say is that the armature, this is your armature, and this is a rectangular A. So the so naturally there would be a what we can say that in this case there is a flux is cutting and going like this, and the flux path is some sort of trying to maintain some A there. So they have given that this is your radius R and this is the thickness T, and this will be, it can be calculated by capital R by this R armature is equal to capital R divided by mu 0 mu R into small r into T. Huh? So this is what is given there. So we can, so in this case what we need to do is that this is your core. So it's a reluctance of the core plus reluctance of the armature plus the gap in between. So all the reluctances have to be added up and do the same thing. And here it is nothing that only you have to find out, estimate the inductance. So nothing that here, that if the gap is 0.5, give the centimeter, or 1 millimeter, what would be the reluctance? Okay. Is it okay? Is it all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any other?
Sir,
Huh?
in question number 1,
Huh?
it is given that the impedance has a phase angle of 71 degree.
Huh?
And it is also written that it is independent of frequency. So how we have to approach this question?
No. That is a, you see, that was when the frequency was 2 kilohertz. The frequency when it was at 2 kilohertz. And in second case, we are trying to find out that frequency of 20 kilohertz. So definitely you know the Z is equal to Rp plus of j omega Lp. Or the magnitude of Z is equal to root over Rp square plus omega Lp square. So definitely the magnitude of Z on which the phase angle on which this will change and is depending upon the frequency also. But we are assuming for the sake of simplicity, the resistance of the voltmeter measuring is and impedance parameters of the primary winding are independent of frequency. That means that if we say the RP is quite large compared to LP or like this there, we can consider that is where it is not with frequency, it is not changing too much. So that is only for simplifying the problem. Am I clear?
So, sir, we have to consider only RP. But if you consider
Not only
RP,
that,
then
you just find out RP and LP is given, RP and omega A is given, but whatever be the Z value we have taken, that Z value and that Z value you just consider uh,
particular,
for the
particular.
second case. Okay,
Okay, sir.
is it all right?
Yes, sir.
Any other? Rather, I would be discussing another problem. I mean, problem 3, possibly you have already solved it, but I just wanted to solve just to show the problem 3 and that some application there. Problem 3 and its some applications there. So it was okay. So there were two parallel plates, semicircular type of capacitance. So basically the moving plate is above the fixed plate and it is rotating and we apply a voltage V there. Okay. So we can say the first thing was given there, okay. Sorry, not problem 3, I think problem 4. It was given that the radius is R, both of them are, and it is rotating at an angular velocity of omega. Okay. So find the current waveform. So what is there? We just wanted to find out what is the current there. We know I is equal to V into dc dt. I is equal to Q into dq dt, and that's why Q is equal to C into V, and V is constant, is equal to CV dc dt. So first one is that find out the current waveform. So how the current waveform will do it? So first of all, let us try to see how the capacitance changes with time. So you can say that, okay, I can make it in this way that at this point, both of them are exactly theta is equal to 0 and they are completely overlapping. So naturally, what is the value of Cmax? Because the capacitance will be maximum. So this will be equal to epsilon 0 into area, that is pi r square. It is a half circular, it's a semicircular divided by 2t. So if they are completely one above the other, complete overlapping, so the capacitance will be maximum, and after that, as theta increases, so this I call it, okay, I can make it theta also. I can say that this theta is equal to pi. It will be 0 because it will be completely non-overlapping ideally. And again, what will happen? Again at pi, 2 pi, the value will be like this. So similarly, it will be going like this as the theta increases. And theta is nothing but is equal to omega into t. So what we can say that what will be the IT component? Okay, theta is equal to omega t. What would be there? It is basically v into dc dt. So if you look at it, the slope is constant. So naturally, IT value will also be constant. So I can say that this is your IT, and this value is, I think it is I max. Value will be V into V into, what is that? Epsilon 0 pi into r square divided by 2t. Is it correct? This value, that's right. At this value, what is the value of? I think there is something wrong, no?
Yes, yes, sir. Because if you differentiate it in the terms of theta, there will be omega. So V
Omega term
into,
will be there.
yes, sir. So V into epsilon 0 into omega by 2t into r square.
Just a minute. So I can say that C is equal to say C0 minus T1 into T. So Tc dt is equal to minus of C1. What is C1? C1 is equal to that changes, basically it is changes epsilon 0 into pi r square divided by 2t, and the time is equal to, it is actually for this change is for 2 pi, and here it would be pi by omega. Is it? T is equal to pi by omega. Is it like that? There would be some omega term. I agree. This will be because you see when the current is going there, so here it is C1 is equal to, that's the thing there, divided by that omega, T is equal to pi by omega. So here it will be omega by pi. Please check it. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Now it is correct.
Now it's correct. So in that case, what is the value? Here it would be C1 is equal to this one. So dc dt is equal to minus this one. So what we can say, it will be V into this one, and here it is omega by pi. Okay? If I am mistaken, you please correct me. So the thing is that what is not important is that what is the exact value. But we are sure that this will be a square wave current, would be a square wave there. So this one can be nicely be used for measurement of speed. So you place a small resistance. R is a small resistance, and you measure the voltage E0 across this one. So what we can say that this E0 will be a function of omega, and simply you pass it to a frequency. This is a square wave simple, and you pass it to a frequency counter, and you can find out the speed, and it is proportional to the speed, because more speed, more will be the closer this one. So the frequency will be dependent upon the speed of it, like this. So basically you measure frequency, and then nicely you can measure the speed. So here it is, one plate fixed, another plate rotating at a constant frequency speed of omega, and just by using a voltage, DC voltage, and a small resistance, the resistance is negligibly small, and from measure the voltage here, and we will get a waveform like this here, and this from that one, you measure, pass it through a zero crossing detector, measure the frequency, and you can get a speed. So we can have a very simple type of speed measuring technique there. Am I clear? So this is one applications of this one there. In that way, what I will say that, in fact, I have not discussed, but there are several ways for measurement of speed, which is a very important parameter in our physical area, that is a rotating body, that is the angular speed of it. So there are several, similar the way to the capacitive type sensor which I have shown it, there could be a variable reluctance type sensor. Or sometimes they are call it electromagnetic type. This is also a popular type. Yeah, there I thought that let me first tell you what are the techniques for speed measurement, so that we can cover that part also. It's a very important. What is done is that okay. So what we have a wheel, and which is rotated at an angular speed of it, like omega. And this wheel has got some elevated teeth. This we call it elevated teeth, which are of magnetic material. number of teeth, say, okay, we'll come to it. M is the number of teeth. Okay. Now, what we can have, so it is rotating. What we can have, here a permanent magnet. And over here, I have a search coil, where the number of turns is equal to small n. So what we can say that there is a, this is a permanent magnet. I can bring it, actually this is in very close vicinity to this wheel. So whenever there is always some magnetic field somewhere, and look this one. And since it is very close to this one, the magnetic flux, what we can say it's a flux phi. So this is also dependent upon the gap between them and where the position of the teeth is. The position of the teeth is. So what is the principle? What we can say that there would be a change in flux as the wheel is rotated, there would be a change in flux linkage due to this permanent magnet as well as the rotation of the wheel there. That is a change in reluctance. So due to that one, in this search coil, there would be some voltage induced. Let us try to see what would be the voltage induced. We can say the voltage induced in the search coil is equal to minus capital N, or rather we call it minus of d capital N dt, where capital N is the flux linkage, is equal to N into phi, where N is the number of turns there. Okay. And this N, the flux linkage, we can say this is basically is equal to the MMF divided by the reluctance. If you recall your ear there, is the flux linkage in this case, there is a permanent magnet here. So depending upon the strength, it will be decided by the MMF divided by the reluctance of the path in your magnetic circuit, what would be the area. And you can see that as the ear rotates, the wheel rotates, the teeth one after the another coming near to this magnetic field, and so like this, so there would be a periodic change in the flux linkage. And if there is a periodic change in the flux linkage, there would has to be always some voltage induced. So we can say that this is equal to n of theta. So n, what we can say, it is n of theta. It depends upon the rotation angle theta. So this is equal to, we can say in a general one, some constant value of flux plus of what is a periodically changing flux because of the presence of the teeth here. We can call it is equal to R A B into cosine of m into theta. What is m? M we have already told, number of teeth, because the periodicity will be dependent upon the m number of teeth like this. So we can write that there is a flux linkage is a constant plus of some b into cosine of m into theta. So what we can say is equal to dn d theta is equal to minus b into am into sine of m theta. And we can say that voltage induced is equal to V is equal to voltage induced is equal to minus dN by dt, or we can say minus of dN d theta into d theta dt. And what is minus of dN theta? Is equal to b into m into sine of m theta into what is d theta dt is nothing but is equal to omega. So what we can say that this is equal to, or I can say this is equal to bm into omega into sine of m into omega into t. So we can see that it will be a voltage would be induced, which will be a sinusoidal in nature. So here it is your V of t, and both the amplitude as well as the frequency will be dependent upon the angular velocity omega there. So best way is that you pass it through a comparator, get a square wave, and pass it through a counter for the number of zero crossing detector, number of pulses you receive from the zero crossing detector there. So this is the way normally, it's a nice way, both the reluctance type or you can say the variable capacitance type. One is this could be used nicely for speed measurement. Obviously, in this case, what type of sensor would you call it? Active or passive? This will be an active sensor because you can see it is a self-generating type. It does not require any external supply to generate the voltage there. So this is a there. And lastly, another type also is frequently used for the optical method, for the speed sensing. It's on the A we place some disc and we place several holes. So these are holes there. And what we can look at it, so this is your, take a side view of it. This is the disc which is rotating, and here there is certain holes there. So what will happen if we put some LED and here you put some detector, optical detector. So here this is an optical method. And so we will get it LED and a detector. So once this comes to be in between, this hole is there would be a detector will get some output, otherwise it will be almost dark. So you get a pulse in the detector in this manner. you count the pulse and you can measure the speed. So mainly these are the three ways, major ways for measurement of speed. Okay. And one thing is that all the cases we can say this is another term, we will be introducing it afterwards also, that is non-intrusive type. That means there is no physical contact between the moving part and the measurement part. So in this case, all the cases, there is no physical contact with a moving part or the and where you are the measurement. Otherwise, if we want to measure the other, say suppose RTD or temperature using an RTD, you will have to insert the sensor inside the place where you want to measure. But in this case, there is no physical contact between the sensor and the physical place where you are trying to measure. So this non-intrusive, or sometimes they call it a non-invasive type A, is often preferred because many of the cases we don't want that the sensor should come in touch with the actual scenario. Lastly, I would be for today, I would be moving towards mostly I have finished the what we call them different types of passive sensors in the mean that resistive sensor, capacitive sensor, inductive sensors, and all the things there. That's a passive type sensor. Each one which require some sort of external excitation. Another type of passive sensor we can say which requires an external excitation is often very much popular, is what we will finish with that one, is what we call it a semiconductor type sensor. Obviously, you may say that, okay, strain gauges, we also employed semiconductors. Thermistors, we employed the semiconductor. But the difference is in this case, basically, we are using the junction property of a semiconductor. So basically, we are using some PN junction type of thing, and there we are trying to measure this. And the major application is a temperature sensing. So what is a temperature sensing? You know, so we need to measure the temperature sensing, and basically you will find these are some ICs are available where directly it will give you some voltage corresponding to the temperature. So this IC will give you directly the temperature and corresponding and basically in terms of some voltage we can do that thing. And but these ICs are mostly the characteristics are one, it's a linear characteristics, very linear characteristics. And second thing is that temperature range between minus 50 to plus 150 degrees Celsius. This is the only limitation. It cannot go for a very high temperature because you know after that, beyond that temperature, the junction breakdown will occur, may occur. So that's why this is the zone where the junction uh, A there, junction property is maintained. So this is the range. So I would say for in this range, this will be the, this has got a high sensitivity also. And here you will see that it is giving you directly some voltage in a measurable form. That is a nice thing here. In fact, these ICs are available in the name of, say, suppose LM35. I don't know whether some experimental, whether it has been discussed. AD590. These are ICs are available. They measure and they can give you directly electrical output in terms of temperature. But how do they work? The basic principle is very simple. You know that any junction any transistors, if I draw it, this is the current IC and say this is a, I am just showing a BJT transistor there. VBE is the voltage for this one. So we know the VBE is given by KT divided by Q into log natural IC divided by IC0, where K is Boltzmann constant, Q is the charge of carrier, that is an electron, say, T is the temperature in Kelvin. So this is a very nice area. And IC0, which we often call it a dark current or collector saturation current. So the point is that it's very nice that the VBE is proportional to the temperature. So we can have a nice A there, okay, some measure somewhere this VBE, and that will be a very nicely can be related to the temperature. But there are certain problems which due to which it is not. So we maintain IC and IC0 constant, by due to which we cannot do it because IC0 is temperature dependent. And in fact, it can be written that IC0 is equal to B into T cube into e to the power minus of QVG0 divided by KT, where B is a constant, it depends upon the shape and all other parameters there. So what we can see that it was looked to be very nicely linearly dependent of this one, but the problem is created by the IC0 because it is also temperature dependent. So the idea is that can you do something to overcome this problem? Otherwise, it could have been a very nice area. So if we do some sort of A there to overcome that problem, if we can do some sort of a mechanism such that this IC0 term is cancelled out, then it could have been a very nice and simple way for measurement of temperature. That is in fact done in case of a, so by modifying this scheme slightly, we can have a nice semiconductor type temperature sensor. What is that? I am showing you one scheme. Or I can call it minus VEE. So this is two transistors I am using. They are connected by some constant current sources, IC1 and IC2. And what we assume that basically they are chosen in such that one, that Q1 or Q2 are identical. If Q1 and Q2 are identical, and also IC1, I made it IC2 equal to IC. They are also constant. So what we can say that this is a base emitter voltage, this is grounded. So naturally VD, that is the difference voltage, which is amplified by an amplifier, differential amplifier AD, which is that is equal to KT by Q into log natural IC1 by IC0 minus of KT by Q into log natural of IC2 divided by IC1. Okay, I need not I skip IC1 and IC2 equal to, rather let it be different there. We can make it 2 or like this there. That's actually, it has been 2 there. So in that case, what is happening? But these transistors are same. So this IC01 and IC02 are the same values there. So we can write it down is KT by Q log natural IC1 by IC2. So it is proportional to temperature. And again, what we can say, the effect of this dark variation of the dark saturation current due to the temperature is getting cancelled out. So this is a linearly one, and if we can make it IC1 is equal to twice IC2 and AD, we select it as equal to 167.4 because K is known, Q is known, all are constant. Then we can get that sensitivity is we can get it, this voltage amplified by this one. We get it nicely. It is equal to 10 millivolt per Kelvin. So very nice way it's that you select an amplifier such that it is 10 millivolt. I mean the gain is 167.4. We can use any instrumentation amplifier and make IC1 is equal to IC2. It would be a very nice one that this junction transistors, I can put it here there, and they can be sensitive to the temperature, and like this they can have this one a 10 millivolt per cube. In fact, that LM35 is the same way what we do it like this. So here it is a 10 millivolt per Kelvin is the sensitivity there. Another one is also there, that is very popular type of IC, is called AD590. It is nothing but a current source, this I, but this constant current source is actually dependent, the value it is dependent upon the temperature. So it's basically a constant current source a temperature controlled constant current source with sensitivity, it is 1 microampere per Kelvin. So it will be changing at 1 microampere per Kelvin. So you connect it in series with a 1K resistance, it would be converted into a 1 millivolt per Kelvin here there, and delivered and to 98 microampere at 298 Kelvin. That means 298 Kelvin means nothing but 25 degrees Celsius. At 25 degrees Celsius, it is designed and tuned to deliver 298 microampere, and after that, every change in at that position, any change in temperature, there will be a 1 microampere per Kelvin area. Actually, I don't know whether it is given to your experiment or like this, but regular experiments we used to.
So it was given in the
It was
experiment.
given. So you must be knowing there. And using that one, you can make many, not, I mean, different schemes also. Particularly these temperature sensors, I mean, semiconductor type temperature sensors, you can see this Palasar in his book, that is a signal conditioning circuits or like this. So that book I have already referred, that signal transducers and signal conditioning, possibly the name. There it's a more details about the design and etc. are given by. Okay, I stop here, and next day onwards we will go for temperature measurement, because temperature is a very important one. We have seen it already, the RTD thermistor, we have already familiar with it, and this semiconductor type temperature sensor also we have seen. Next we will go the most popular one in industrial use, that is thermocouple. That I will be discussing in the next class. Okay, let me stop here. If any question, you can ask quick question. So please remember that the class test contains, I have already given, but if you miss, I will not be able to arrange any alternative class test or like this. So please be present, and it would be also on Moodle platform.
So, one question in that, so the transistor diagram which you made, if the currents IC1 and IC2 were different, uh,
That
then
can make, I made it because there are certain constant current source.
so then how can we actually this IC01 and IC02 will also be different now,
No,
or
no.
they will be same? Because if
So
if
basically it
IC1
was,
and IC2 are different, then dimensions of a transistor
actually
should
you
also
can
be.
go for this one. Basically the transistors, this is a transistor there. So what would be the value of current IC? I can control by connecting it to a constant current source. It's a constant current source. So that it will be whatever be the other situation, it will be always following that amount of current. So in fact, you can see actually the basic transistors books and a differential amplifier. Whatever we have shown you is the basic scheme of a differential amplifier based on which op-amp and all the things have been there. So that is what I have shown you. So this is also possible that to make the two current here there, that in ICs we can change it and make it by making the make the two currents different. But the transistors are identical. The transistors are identical. Actually, those Pallas Arany's book, you can see more detail, or you can go through any book on transistors. You will get it about this design. And in fact, afterwards, whenever you go for this IC design, you will be able to see that it is possible. Analog IC design, it is possible to make it. Okay? Because I see the inside of it, I have not shown it, but that one, it could be seen that one. Okay? Please go through any book, you will be able to understand. Any other question, quick question? If not, then let's call it a day. Thank you very much. Next day we will start about the with thermocouple, which is a very okay. Bye.